Hello and welcome to this week's show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And we are Green Wisdom Health, home of your low-cost lab work and very fun and informative information. Speaking of which, we have a show today about heart health. So many people come in here with high cholesterol, AFib, heart attacks, wanting to prevent those things, high cholesterol. And Dr. Lewis is going to sort it all out for us and tell us how to help our hearts be healthier. So with that said, Dr. Lewis, can you please educate us today about what we can do to feel wonderful?
Well, she puts pressure on me when she says it's going to be informational and fun. But what started this? Well, let me back up. The hardest thing for me to do is to name a show. And I'm sorry for the rabbit holes and that I go down, but you will see things scroll across Good Morning America, and the one that did it on July 9th that said study finds heart health supplements likely a waste of money. Well, I said, I know what I'm talking about. They don't tell you where the study is. They don't tell you which drug company sponsored that. And folks, you've got to realize there's so much research out there that some of them are skewed intentionally to create the results they want. They cherry pick it. They'll throw out the results or the studies that don't say what they want it to say. So some of these things are so skewed. And I read a lot of research. I'm blessed with a really good memory. And I've said in many, many seminars that do nothing but go over the research for the year, especially the ones that pertain to nutrition. One of the studies, this is how they skew them. It said people that eat candy live longer. Sounds good too. And the instructor there passed out Snickers to everybody in the room, which was just fine with me. Brian in Florida. Yes, I ate the Snickers. So we said, what is the rest of the story? Because we know there's some point that's not being made. He said, the point is that they were all Harvard graduates and all cherry-picked to be very successful businessmen. So they had more money and less stress and had easier, less stressful lifestyles. And it had nothing to do with the fact that they ate candy every day. He said that is how skewed some of these studies are. So, folks, the problem with your doctor is half of what he's saying is untrue, and your doctor doesn't know which half is untrue, and that's me too. That's all of us. So we have to listen with a spirit of discernment. I always tell the truth to the very best of my ability, and you've got to realize, and I tell my patients, whether they're in front of me or over the phone, you've got to listen to your intuition. It's not just me, and I try to be very informative, and Janet thinks I'm funny, but I don't know if that's true. So heart health is the subject because of the misleading thing. They'll always poo-poo supplements. Well, there's not much money to be made in supplements, and there's just massive millions and billions to be made in drugs. And I'm not against drugs, and if you've got a heart problem, yes, you need a cardiologist. Some are better than others, and some of them will say, okay, you want to be on these supplements, they thin the blood, so now I'm going to check your clotting time and I'm going to adjust the medicine to fit the supplements that you want to take. Just had this issue with my favorite gun dealer this morning. He said, well, I've got tachycardia or AFib, or, and I said, well, yeah, you need a cardiologist. You need to deal with that through a good cardiologist. But he said, I don't want to get off this stuff I'm taking for my gout. He said, since I've taken your stuff for gout, I've never had another gout attack. And I said, yes, some of these things do thin the blood, especially the devil's claw, the quercetin, and the bromelain will thin the blood. So just see if your cardiologist will alter the drugs to get the right clotting time while you're taking the stuff for the uric acid. And we'll see if he has a good cardiologist. And most of them are good, but we need ones that can play both sides of the fence, natural versus medical, because there's a lot of value to be had in both arenas. So, study finds heart health supplements likely a waste of money. So I'm going to talk about some of these things that would put that in the category of BS. Belief systems or bacon sandwich. Janet raised her eyebrows on that one. Hawthorne equals an ACE inhibitor drug, from Journal of Pharmacology and Pharmacology Letter. Green tea is an excellent antioxidant rich in catechins, Journal of Archives of Internal Medicine. Licorice helps adrenal function, which has a lot to do with heart function, Journal of Chemopharmacology Bulletin. Ginkgo is helpful for intermittent claudication or poor and painful peripheral circulation. That's from American Journal of Medicine. You do kind of have to watch ginkgo. It can raise your blood pressure, though. Elderberry reduces cholesterol oxidation. The issue with elderberry is now people are finding out it really does have some real good benefits on the colds and flu and immune system. And it's gone from about $12 a pound to $62 a pound. So, folks, don't complain about the cost of good supplements. And again, there's a lot of mediocre ones and just as many ones I would not take. But it's going up because they're getting more popular. And the good ones, they're getting harder to source. So, be patient and know that Janet and I are doing the best we can to balance the best of the best quality with the best price. And those of you that's been with us for years have seen us go through some really good changes in the last couple of years. Our business has grown like crazy. And, well, guess what? God kicked us out of the nest, and we're beginning to fly even better. So you're going to see even more changes in the next month or two. They're going to be good. Let's see. Google lipids, lower cholesterol, and stimulates thyroid function. Lowers cholesterol. Now, and red clover also. So years ago, I was taking a test for a very large life insurance policy, and my friend that sold it to me says, "Oh my God, your cholesterol's so bad they'll never give you life insurance for the rest of your life." And he was kind of like a daddy / big brother to me. And all I did was take Google lipids and red clover, because I didn't know about some even better stuff we have now. And I said, "Can you get them to take this test again?" He says, "Sure." So a week and a half later, one of my patients, who was the phlebotomist for the insurance company, came and took my blood after a week and a half of taking Google lipids and red clover. And my friend, the insurance agent, called me and says, "They're licensed, insured, and bonded. How much did you pay them to take somebody else's test? Because your cholesterol's so beautiful, you would get a preferred rate on a very large policy." I said, "Well, it was my patient. I did not, I didn't cheat. I didn't bribe them." And he says, "No, you look like a vegetarian that jogs 8 miles a day." And I said, "Well, that's not true, because we go eat pizza every day." Back in those days, that's before Janet. So now I just eat with Janet because it's healthier and she's better to look at. Okay, another one. Fish oil lowers cholesterol and improves function of sex hormones. Now people want to take it for sex hormones. Also, fish oil helps heal leaky gut. And that's from American College of Nutrition. Let's see. Fruits, vegetables, essential fatty acids, nuts, and antioxidants decrease endothelial inflammation. That's the inside of your arteries, and that's from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And I mentioned that one, especially the part about nuts, is because later I hope we'll get into a recipe a very sweet lady put on my Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis this morning when we get into the questions. And folks, if you want some good information, get on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis. It's full of all kinds of good things.
On Facebook.
Yeah, Spacebook.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Indole 3-carbinol in cruciferous vegetables helps in detoxification of environmental estrogens, which helps the heart. We deal a lot with indole 3-carbinol, but we deal more with diindolone methane, which is the next step in indole 3-carbinol. We also, in one of our most popular formulas, have calcium D-glucarate, which will detox those environmental estrogens and help you detox through the liver, and that helps the heart. EFAs, essential fatty acids, reduce heart mortality 29 to 40%. That's essential fatty acids, and they're not even talking about the good stuff. And that's from American Journal of Cardiology, folks, Journal of Circulation, and Lancet. So if you're not taking fish oil, well, you should be. I won't say. Supplementing with B vitamin complex lowers homocysteine levels and saves significant cost in health care. Journal of the American Medical Association. Now, it does have to be the good B vitamins, and one of the ones that Janet wanted to talk about, she was going to talk about AFib and tachycardia and atrial fibrillations of different types. But she said the supplement for that, she says, what are you going to talk about? And I said, I don't know. And she says, well, methyl CPG. That is super duper, the real good B12 with B6 and with the 5-MTHF for those that have that genetic problem, MTHF-R, if y'all want to look it up, get confused on Google.
Yeah, it's also great for depression as well, especially with people that have heart-type issues. Because some people want to know what the symptoms of tachycardia are, and it's like it's a racing, uncomfortable, or irregular heartbeat. There's many people come in here and tell us that now. For some reason, it seems to be very rampant in that arena, I guess, because we're have an issue with low MTHF.
And environmental toxins and a lot of the heavy metals, which I probably won't get time to go into.
They also tell us they have feelings of shortness of breath, or they feel lightheaded.
I feel that way every time I look at Janet.
Even fainting.
Fainting goats, I wonder if they have that problem. They're cute.
Having a fast pulse and chest pains. Mm-hmm. And in serious cases where tachycardia is left untreated, it can cause heart attacks. You could be unconscious. You could just be extremely tired all the time and damage to the heart muscle. And
that's when you need to go to the emergency room. You need a cardiologist. Some people say this is it complementary or alternative to medical care? It's complementary, not an alternative. The medical profession is wonderful, so don't do without. They can really save your life.
But methyl CPG is a great addition to that. You only have to take one a day, and you do it in the morning because it gives you tons of energy. And the people that get on that don't get off because they feel bad when they get off of it again.
Well, the ones that have had a consult with me and I felt led to put them on that, I tell them this story. Janet asked me one time, she said, did you take your methyl CPG this morning? And I said, you've never asked a question that you didn't know the answer to. Men, has your wife ever asked a question she didn't already know the answer to?
We're trying to be respectful.
Yeah, right. I said, well, I hadn't, but how can you tell? She says, you're not happy. And I said, I'm always happy. She says, you're not as happy, you're not as animated. And she can tell when I don't take that one pill per day. There's 2, maybe 3 others she can tell if I didn't take them. So one of them's the blood sugar leveling issue, Brian down in Florida. I'm picking on him because I love him. But I have people all over the country, and I just really love that. And the ones that follow my instructions, and again, you have to listen with a discerning spirit. I'm doing the very best I can, but I'm still human, and I promise you I'm not anywhere close to perfect. But methyl CPG is good. Oh, my God, good. Then the other one, CoQ10, you have to get 4 to 7 times the normal in the blood to help with heart disease. Now, if it's cheap CoQ10, it's not CoQ10 because it is relatively expensive. You've got to get the good stuff. It's very, very important. And it helps if you just supplement, but it also is in pork, heart, beef, and salmon. And that's from Journal of Annals of Internal Medicine, Journal of Human Hypertension, American College of Nutrition Annual Meeting, Journal of Free Radicals Biological Medication. Folks, this is real research. Why would Good Morning America scroll across that it says study finds heart health supplements are likely a waste of money? Are you really poo-pooing the validity and the intelligence and the hard work of all these people and these foundations that I've listed? I think not. And I hadn't even got started on the research that I made notes about. I probably won't again. But here's another one I want to get into because I want to talk about Tara's pecan butter. This one says nuts, especially walnuts, lower cholesterol. And that's from American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And that's because the walnuts have the highest omega-3 to 6 ratio of all the nuts. Okay, Janet. You want me to keep talking? I'm gonna get off on a rabbit trail. So,
yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the causes and risk factors of tachycardia. And what it is, it's caused by an irregularity in the electrical signal that makes the heart beat. But there's actually a lot of root causes and why it happens to start with. And one of them is a damaged heart from heart disease. Can be an abnormality that was present from birth. You could actually do strenuous exercise. And, that's one reason we run the low-cost lab work, because that we have a couple of tests on there that you can see if you're headed toward a heart issue. Well, there's more than two on there.
yeah.
There's a liver enzyme that's on the test, AST. When we look at that and it's way higher than the ALT, you better suspect there's some sort of muscle damage, and it could be heart. There's a test on there called C-reactive protein that's a inflammation marker, heart specific. And then there's cholesterol. People take a pill and bring it down, and then we're looking at the lab and going, man, their cholesterol's extremely low because they really lowered it too much. But these other factors are on this lab that say, hey, they're still at an increased risk for heart attack or stroke. And maybe Dr. Lewis needs to educate us a little bit about the cholesterol numbers, because we're all led to believe that if the cholesterol is low, then your risk of heart issues is as well, because they've just prevented it.
Mm-hmm.
So could you maybe explain how that might not exactly be true?
Yeah, it's really more about the HDL and the triglyceride ratio. And if the triglycerides are too high, that means you have a poor diet. And that's why we also test insulin beyond glucose and your A1C. There's so many other things that I'd like to talk about, so let's see if I can do just a little bit of it. People that take MSM and chondroitin, for their joints, they're also helping their heart, because that has to do with the matrix, which is the things in between the cells, like blood vessels, where they're made from and supported by glucosamine, sulfate, chondroitin, and MSM. It improves the elasticity of the matrix of these blood vessels. Trace minerals. And you've heard me say that we don't have hardly any minerals left in our soil. It's at least 85% of it's gone. Janet was talking about the problem with the electricity or the impulse system. Well, it's a mixture of trace minerals. You always have to think magnesium, magnesium, magnesium.
Or multi-minerals. And
Yeah.
that's another, that was a question that actually came up. We had a guy in here yesterday, and he said, oh, well, I drink Gatorade so that I can make sure I'm not losing my minerals or electrolytes. Is that a good choice?
No, it's got sucralose in it, because it can be something besides magnesium. It can be potassium and calcium. It can be zinc. Almost everybody's low in zinc. Anybody with a swollen prostate has low zinc. It can be manganese, molybdenum, chromium, and boron. I like boron because you can't build bone or make testosterone without boron.
We actually have a product that we sell called Electrolyte Energy, especially this time of year when it's hot outside, and we got guys are out working in the heat. And the guy yesterday said, I own a business and I'm outside, and he said, I'm just pouring sweat off me.
Fatigued.
Yeah, and he said, and my legs cramped up, and he said they were cramped for 4 days. And I said, you realize that when that happens, your heart is a muscle too, right? And that can cramp just like your legs. And so what are you going to do when that happens? Which I think kind of scared him, because he hadn't really put that together.
Because he's 40, he's in really good shape, he's got the muscles, he got twice as much testosterone as the average guy that's 20, 30, or 40. And I said, you got a beautiful wife and children, you need to live longer. And he went and bought the Electrolyte Energy.
Well, I think what got him is he said, well, if I died, I've left a great life insurance policy to my wife, so maybe she'd be better off without me, actually. I said, yeah, but what if she remarries and spends your life insurance policy with that new man? And he said, let me go get that electrolyte energy, because he really wasn't quite ready for that. So
Janet's good at that. She told me one time I didn't want to take my supplements as good as I should. She says, Stephen, you're insured for a lot of money. She said, I'm young and good looking. I'll find another man to spend your money. I said, yes, ma'am, I'll take that stuff.
It's funny how you guys are okay with leaving the poor widow with money, but maybe not the new guy that comes around.
Yeah, you'd buy him not a bass boat. You could buy him a yacht. Can I get into the heavy metals a little bit?
Yes, and then we have a couple of questions we need to make sure we answer.
Well, okay. Back before I get into that, one of the things, people have a lot of acid reflux, and it's usually, or can be many times, H. pylori, which is a bacteria that's in about 2 out of 3 people's stomach. It grows like crazy when you take antacids, so you want to get to the cause of that. And that's the problem, is like, you don't know if it's really acid reflux or beginning of a heart attack, and that's why it's really good to see a cardiologist. So be careful with that. And then I want to talk just a little bit about the heavy metals. And this is kind of dear to me since Janet and I have been to China, and the pollution's just as bad here, but on this, they're picking on China. Mercury pollution is rising in China at such fast rates that there are really and truly whole towns that started suffering from weird neurological symptoms, and they finally traced it back to mercury poisoning. And it was the power plants, and what they do, they pay real small fees for the privilege of polluting. We have better scrubbers now, the coal-fired power plants, although that still releases mercury. We get most of our mercury out of high fructose corn syrup. And some of the grains in the fields nearby these places have about 40 times as much mercury than the grains from a less contaminated area. So, be careful. Lead is a big deal. It's kind of incredible. I got a big dose of that when I was a kid too, but some of the reservoirs in China have about 18 times the EPA's recommended levels of mercury, and I think the EPA is crazy because they've got our recommended levels to stay below. I think they're way too high personally. There's way too many high recommendations that are not healthy, and a lot of these things will raise your homocysteine level, and homocysteine is very, very important to keep low to help with heart health because it inflames the endothelial lining. So it's stored in bones. Lead is terrible because remember when there was a calcium craze years ago and people said, well, I'm taking calcium. It's like, yeah, but they're getting it from cows that's grazing on the side of the road that's getting lead from our leaded gasoline that comes out in the fumes and gets on the grass. So your cow actually bioaccumulates this lead, and then they're grinding up the bone and you're taking it. You're getting more lead than calcium. And people started looking at it differently once I said that.
You got a way of ruining all kind of things, don't you? People think they're doing something really good for themselves, and then you take it to the next degree, and we're going, oh my gosh, it's
just because I said that about they radiated the little half and half things and it's like it's not like they're glowing radiation. That's not what I said.
Well, people don't usually think to the next step of where all that it comes from. So thank you that you're always there to take us to the next level.
I'm sorry, but when they pick up a gun on the movie, a Glock does not go click, click. Neither does a Beretta, and et cetera, et cetera. and they need to stop and reload. Although one of my patients is a special effects guy on some of these big movies like Fast and Furious. He says, Doc, we put the reloads in there. They just edit it out. He's out of Hollywood, but he goes all over the world making movies. One of the reasons I like to push amino acids, and we had that question from Joe from Saline, Michigan. Yes, we're going to find another one. We think we found one that's better but cost a lot less money. But
I don't know if it's better, but it's as good, and it may cost a little less.
I kind of like the formula. We're going to experiment with it. There's some good things happening here, but taurine is one of the things that's an amino acid. I sell a lot of it because it helps with the detoxification needs. It helps to emulsify and absorb good fats, and it helps the fat-soluble vitamins, which is A, D, E, and K. Plus, it helps absorb CoQ10, and beta-carotene. So taurine is very, very important. It augments magnesium's actions, reduces homocysteine, causes vasodilation, which vasodilation it means lower blood pressure. So, that's a really good thing. Most people know about arginine for increasing nitrous oxide, but it does not stay in the system as long as citrulline. So that being said, I'd kind of like to get to some of these questions, and hope you've enjoyed it so far because I'm on a roll.
He is on a roll. We want to make sure we have answered your questions, and if you're wondering how you get these questions to us, you can sign up to be a member of Shootin' Straight with Dr. Lewis on Facebook, and you can interact there and be a part of the group that is trying to do healthy things for themselves, and you can learn recipes and
you can get Tara's recipe for pecan butter.
Right. And Fran is one of our group members, and she says, Dr. Lewis, what's your take on coconut oil, MCT oil, and plaque? So this goes right along with our heart show.
I was assuming she was talking about arterial plaque, and basically my answer to Fran, I just love that lady. She's real sweet. My answer was, I think they're good for health, but if you're going to try to deplaque your arteries, there's many, many other things that you need to consider, and all the things we've talked about today, plus vitamin K that I've not gotten into. So yes, you need those good fats, and higher fats are better, but not necessarily for plaquing.
And then we have Tara that not only gave us a wonderful recipe, we'll share part of it with you, but she also has a question about what's the difference between probiotics that need to be refrigerated and soil-based probiotics.
Oh man, that's a big one. The thing about it is that there are so many different possibilities. Soil-based, they go through 3 stages, and they go through the spore form, and I don't think probiotics are that really fragile, but let me back up, Tara, to answer this. Used to, we didn't have triple wash spinach, and we would get, some soil-based probiotics. But the problem is, since you're putting glyphosate, Roundup, and other problematic chemicals on our foods, it's creating a lot of problems, and there are literally fields that have no microbial activity whatsoever because of the way we fertilize and spray pesticides on it. So they can't plow these stalks under because they won't break down because there's no microbial activity, so they burn them. We see that a lot in sugarcane fields and corn and soybean, that kind of thing. So that's why it's very important to get more of the organic, especially if you know your local farmer. That's a really good thing. So soil-based is a good thing. And other people have questions about room temperature stable versus refrigerated.
Right, especially in this time of year as we're shipping out these probiotics to people. Of course, they don't come to you still cold like they started out here. But we put ice packs in and they're melted and they're going, they're back to being warm.
It's steamy.
So, we do want to make sure we address that.
Well, the real reason is most of these probiotics are made at much more than what they say. One of the main ones is 20 billion, which is good. They won't encapsulate it unless it goes 40. It usually assays at about 60 to 62 billion. So really and truly, even the refrigerated probiotics have greater stability at room temperature than most people think. The test, they do assays on these things that it says several weeks at warm temperatures can result in as little as only 5% loss in potency. And really and truly, it's usually 2 to 3% loss in potency after weeks of warm temperatures, and these are the refrigerated ones. It's best to refrigerate it for long-term viability, but here's the thing. I asked a PhD in microbiology one time, I said, how fragile are these? And she got a jar off out of the cabinet. She said, we've been using the same probiotics for 30 years. They still come to life. She says, as long as you don't let them get moist and put them in direct sunshine, they're still viable 30 years later. So y'all don't worry about it. You're getting way, way more than you're paying for, and it may have lost up to 5% if it's sat in the warehouse for several weeks. Y'all are still good, I promise you.
But it started out with more in it than what they actually said to start with, so
Yep.
they're not really losing anything. They're still on a gain.
No, you're still paying for a lot less than what you get.
And real quickly, we want to make sure we answer Rob's question. He wants to know our take on the latest craze of CBD oil for inflammation, anxiety, depression, and that it may even make you good looking and wealthy, perhaps.
Well, Rob's the one I gave my cell phone number to, and he never calls me. He is young, rich, and good looking. I don't know about the rich part, but he's good looking. So I think CBD is a good thing. I don't think it's, a lot of people are saying it just, it kills my pain. Well, yes, but you need to get to the underlying thing. I'm not against it. I think it's a good thing. It never should have been illegal in the first place. But make sure you're not just taking that to cover up symptoms. But yeah, that being said, yeah, take it.
Awesome. And with that, that is our show for the week. If you guys have questions, like I said, please email us. Go on our Facebook group, Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis. Get started today.
And get Tara's recipe for pecan butter. It's really healthy.
Yes. And go to greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out the health survey, get started. It will recommend you a lab panel so that you're not guessing at what's going on with your health needs. And we'll be here next week on the next episode of the Green Wisdom Health Show. You guys have a blessed week.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.